I've been wanting to share these classics with you ever since they emerged out of Uncle Buck's library that I inherited. And they're Daoist classics, Chuang, and he actually has two books by this guy. And the first thing it makes me think of is what we've been talking about lately with letting books roll over you. In this sense, finding the right translation. I know if I'm looking for a classic book online, I do a bunch of research and I try to find the best translation with the best commentary that's done, like the newest modern best thing. And if I'm just inheriting something or finding a used bookstore, that's the version that's right then. It's the one that's in front of me, and everybody's angle is cool. When you have books like this that are millennia old, the intros that were done 100 years ago are as good as the intros today, and everybody takes a really different angle on it, and they arrange things differently. So this Shangzu is known as the follow-up to the Tao Te Ching. And so this was the next great thinker. And as one of these books says, in Asia in general, you don't start a new school when you do a commentary on somebody who came before you. So he was a brand new take on Taoism and could almost be considered a different way of thinking about it, though they dovetail. But he's a commentator, and so he might be seen in the line of Taoism, but really he brings all these fresh ideas to it. And so the other thing about these books that are always interesting is they all pick different things to translate. With the collections of Shangzu, there are 7 inner chapters that everybody translates. Then there's a number of outer chapters where it's like, which of these are real, which were added on later. Some feels like they might even have stuff added in. And the thing is, you just can't worry about it all that well. You know, reading through this stuff once will help get in your head forever. If you get really into it, read 2 or 3. But especially for the classics, so often it is the book that's in front of you is going to be the one that makes the difference. And if you get really into it, you'll study a bunch of versions of it. I really like this version, this translation, but this one is cool by Burton Watson because it's very political, actually. And so I'm just going to share some of my notes from the back on this one, because one of the first things that struck me in this one was he was talking to, if Shangzu was from a certain province or area known as Sung, then he came from a particularly bloody region with a lot of internal strife. And we don't know if that's actually where he was from, but if it was, it would explain a lot of what he was writing about, that he saw a lot of palace politics causing a lot of bloodshed. And his political answer, as a translator says, was mystical. Free yourself from this world. That's what my godmother would say that the Bhagavad Gita is about, is you're entitled to your labor, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your labor. And when you come to that great battle where you have to fight, even though you know all of this is dust and this is just a thing of the material realm and not of the spiritual realm, you still have to go in and do what you think the right thing is, and even if there's not a very clear answer there, which is what's so great about the Mahabharata, and is that struggle. And you see the same thing here in Shangzu. Another line I really liked from Lao Tzu was a seeker comes to Lao Tzu and asks him, "Why did you come with this crowd of people?" And the guy looks around, it's like he's all by himself. And Lao Tzu was talking about all the old ideas that he brought with him that were clouding his thinking, which I thought was a great way of thinking about it. The 3 rhetorical tools that are used by Shangzu are paradoxical anecdote, which is something that we love today. Somebody TikToked about that. Pseudological discussion, where he starts off sounding very serious about something, then gets more and more out there until you realize he's just pulling your leg. And then the final thing, rhetorical tool, was simply humor. And a lot of the writers, even of Taoism, were not that humorous, and especially the Confucianists. They were the rule followers, and so he was really out there. That he became one of the classics. He has a grin, and you can see it in a lot of this writing. The last thing I'll mention is one that you might have heard of a good bit before. Is the state of Wu Wei, or the state of not striving, and I think that is what he's trying to answer to politically and what we can all embrace. It's what I find out of the I Ching a lot is, yes, I'm supposed to be here and work hard at myself and at being a good parent and spouse and worker for the work I do. but I'm also supposed to just hold on loosely and enjoy it as I go, and the less desire I have for certain outcomes, the less disappointment I'll have. And the more I let go of that stuff, the more, yeah, okay, tonight I'm working late. That's fine. What else would I have been doing? Getting high and reading a book. Are they really that different? No, I like my work. I'm very lucky. So I think and that actually speaks to the last thing I have starred here, which is thinking of Taoism and Confucianism as complementary, with the I Ching as the bridge. These are the two great schools of thought that come out of the East, if you will. And you have the Taoism on one side and Confucianism on the other. And this is very rule following, and this is very more light and loose. And then you have the I Ching to bridge, because while people may fall into each of these schools, I think the great thinkers realize that there's a back and forth between them. And just like the death of the Tao means or the death of yin energy means the birth of yang energy, I think the same thing happens with Confucianism and Taoism. And so I would encourage you to just find some version of this. There's lots of free versions online, of course. There's audiobook versions, I think, I'm sure. And this has been a really cool thing to read. And even the intros will help get you a far way. So I've been wanting to share this with you, so there you go.